You work harder than your parents did. You are better at your job than you were 10 years ago. You produce more in an hour than any worker in history. And you are barely keeping up. That is not a feeling. It is a measurement. Since 1979, the amount a typical American worker produces in an hour has grown about 80%. Their pay has grown about 30%. This is case file 11. The story of a machine you have been running on your whole life without being told it was a machine. The treadmill. Here is how a treadmill works. You run. The belt moves the opposite way. You sweat, your heart pounds, and you end exactly where you started. Effort with no distance. Now put your working life on that belt. Every year you get faster, better tools, better skills, more output. And every year the belt speeds up to match, so your pay stays in place. You were told the deal was simple. Work hard, get ahead. And you did work hard. The get ahead part quietly stopped being connected to it. So you assumed the problem was you. Not enough hustle, wrong choices, a missed degree. Millions of people, each privately certain they alone fell behind. But you cannot have a personal failing that shows up identically in 80% of the workforce for 40 years. That is not a character flaw. That is a system. And the system is not hidden. It sits in one of the most boring charts the government produces. Two lines that used to move together and then didn't. So let us get on the belt and watch the two lines. What you make and what you're paid. And the exact year they came apart. Start fair, because the first part of this story is good news. For about 30 years after the war, the treadmill did not exist. The belt matched your stride. From the late 1940s to the late 70s, productivity and pay rose together, almost line for line. When workers produced more, they were paid more. That was the deal. It was not charity. It was the arrangement that built the middle class, the one your grandparents actually lived inside. Produce more, earn more. Simple and real. A worker in 1960 could look at the economy growing and know correctly that a piece of that growth was coming to them. The rising tide genuinely lifted their boat. Around 1979, the two lines quietly split. Productivity kept climbing, the same as before. Pay flattened and never got back on. Nothing announced it. No law was passed called the Treadmill Act. The connection between what you produce and what you're paid was simply let go of. That single hinge year, 1979, is the same year the last several files kept landing on. The wealth line, the income line, and now the pay line all bend at once. Because they are the same event, seen from different windows. This file is the wage window, the exact place the money stopped reaching your paycheck. And once the lines split, they never rejoined. Decade after decade, the gap between what you make and what you produce only widened. So watch it happen. Two lines rising together for 30 years, and then one keeps climbing while the other lies down, the moment the belt turned on. The source here is not an activist. It is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the government's own counters, compiled by the Economic Policy Institute. Just the numbers since 1979. And to be precise about you, the typical worker here means production and non-supervisory workers, the people who make things and provide services, about 80% of the private workforce, most of the country. First, productivity. How much value a worker produces in an hour, adjusted for inflation. Since 1979, it has grown by roughly 80%. You are nearly twice the worker per hour that your predecessor was. Now, pay. The hourly compensation of that same typical worker over the same years, it has grown by about 30%. Not zero, but not 80. A fraction of what you produce. Put those side by side, and the gap is the whole story. Productivity up around 80, pay up around 30. Your output grew nearly 3 times as fast as your paycheck. Let us walk it decade by decade so you can see the belt speeding up. In the 80s, the gap cracks open. In the 90s, it widens. By the 2000s, it is a canyon. And notice, pay did rise a little, especially in the last few years, when workers were finally scarce enough to bargain. real, and worth saying, but it never came close to catching what you produced. This is why the raise always felt just out of reach. It was. The distance between your effort and your reward was not in your head. It has a number, and the number is decades long. Some of the split has honest explanations, how benefits are counted, how prices are measured. Economists have checked. After every fair adjustment, the gap is still enormous and still real. So this is not a trick of the chart. It is the chart working perfectly, showing you a thing the story never mentioned, that producing more and earning more became two different activities. Two lines, one source, 45 years, rising together, then torn apart. And the tier is the treadmill. So the question stops being whether you fell behind. You did not fall, you ran. The question is where the distance you ran actually went. Here is what the gap is made of. Every hour, you produce a certain amount of value. Some of it comes back to you as pay. And since 1979, a growing slice of it simply doesn't. That slice is not lost. It is the exact same money the last file measured, the wealth that flowed up instead of across. The treadmill is the machine. The 50 trillion is what it moved. Think of it as a wedge driven between two things that used to be one, the value you create and the check you take home. Every year, the wedge gets a little thicker, and you feel the wedge as a specific grinding experience. Working more hours to hold the same ground, two incomes to run a house, one income used to run, a raise that is eaten by rent before it arrives. It is the second job, the side hustle sold to you as ambition, which is really just the belt speeding up, dressed as opportunity. It is the credit card balance that never quite clears, because the paycheck was quietly built to fall a little short of the life it used to buy. None of that is weakness. It is arithmetic. When your output climbs 80% and your pay climbs 30%, the difference has to come from somewhere. It comes from your time, your sleep, your margin. And here is the cruelest part of a treadmill. From the outside, it looks like you are choosing to run. So the world calls it laziness when you tire and hustle when you don't. Either way, you are still in play. So you blamed yourself, or the generation behind you, or the one ahead. Everyone on the belt, turning to blame the other runners, while the belt itself hummed along, unquestioned. The corkboard knows this shape by now, a line of output soaring, a line of pay flat, and a story in the middle, whispering that the distance between them is your fault. Pin the two lines where the suspect photo goes. The treadmill is not the crime. It is the murder weapon, the mechanism that turned your rising effort into someone else's rising fortune. Now ask the only question that matters. If the belt was set to 0 on purpose, who reached down and set it? Follow the value. The output that stopped reaching wages did not vanish. It went to profits, to shareholders, and to the pay at the very top. The gap is their gain. The chart says so. The fairness beat because it is owed. Businesses do need profit, and a well-run company should reward its owners. Not every employer is tightening the belt on purpose. Many are on a belt of their own. But the settings were changed deliberately across the whole economy, and this season names them. One file at a time. This file just proves the belt is written. Worker bargaining power was weakened, so the raise you produced had no force behind it. Pay at the top was unhooked from pay in the middle. Profits were sent to buy back stock instead of to wages. Each setting, a small turn of the same dial. None of them alone, a scandal. All of them together, a 45-year one-way transfer from your effort to someone else's account. And it is bipartisan, which should end the argument. The belt kept running under every president, every party, every promise to be the one who finally slowed it down. The line never bent, which means the honest frame, again, is not left against right. It is the people on the belt against the ones who set its speed, up against down. Because as long as the runners are yelling at each other about who is running wrong, nobody turns around to look at the control panel. The argument is the noise that hides the machine. 80% more output, 30% more pay. That gap is not an accident of the market. It is the measurable residue of 1,000 small decisions about who the economy is for. So put the two lines back on one screen, what you make and what you keep, and you can finally see the machine you have been running inside your whole life. Treadmill. Translation, your productivity was never the problem, and it was never the point. You held up your end of the deal for 45 years, while the other end was quietly cut. The receipts say it was not laziness, not a skills gap, not a bad attitude. It was a policy choice. To break the link between producing more and earning more, and to never tell you it was broken. And here is the truth this file exists to hand you. A belt that was switched on by choices can be switched off by choices. The connection between effort and reward is not a law of physics. It is a setting. The treadmill is not your destiny. It is a machine with a control panel, and now you know the panel exists and roughly where it is. 45 years running in place. The only question left is whether the next 45 reconnect the belt to your stride. And that starts the second you stop blaming the runner next to you. Case file 11 is closed. Next, the 40-year pay freeze. Your grandfather's paycheck bought more than yours does. We show you the wage that peaked in 1968 and never came back.